Ever actually sat down and thought what you would do if you were faced with a terminal illness? There are thousands, probably even millions out there that are unsure when their last day is going to be because of their uncurable illness. As the Hastings Center Bioethic Briefing states, palliative care, including excellent pain and symptom management, psychosocial support for patients and families, and assistance with difficult decision making, should be a part of the standard of care for all seriously ill patients. When one reaches their final days of life, they may enter a hospice program where they receive symptom management only, or as I call it, comfort cares. Comfort cares focuses solely on making sure the patient is comfortable as they reach their last days, and they forego any previously potential curative treatments. The Hastings Center states many studies have demonstrated a significant gap between the potential of palliative treatments to relieve suffering and actual practice, meaning they're not sure if it's actually being done to the full extent. When someone decides to start palliative treatment, it's hard to tell if they are truly comfortable or pain-free because not everyone expresses it the same way. On October 27, 1997, Oregon was the first state to legalize the Death with Dignity Act. There are a lot of things that play into PAD, but it really comes down to the person with terminal illness and whether or not they choose to take their prescription. About 2/3 of patients who receive a potentially lethal prescription die after taking it, while about 1/3 do not take their lethal prescription and die from other causes, according to the Hastings Center. As always, the patient has the right to do what they want when it comes to their care. The physician also has an obligation to stay with the patient through the dying process, and they must, as always, when discussing cares, state the risks and restrictions. There are still people out there that will argue that it is a form of murder, but if you really think about it, is it really all that wrong if patients are in their right mind and they have a life expectancy of less than a year? Not only would it save the patient a whole lot of pain and suffering, but it would also save the patient's family from watching their loved one in agony. Some may argue that PAD is going against the physician's oath that they take when they start to practice. The American College of Physicians states, society's focus at the end of life should be on efforts to address suffering and the needs of patients and families, including improving access to effective hospice and palliative care. There are many things to debate when it comes to physician-assisted suicide and whether or not it is ethical, and I could go on for hours. My main point that I want to make is that no matter what you or I think, it is all up to the patient and whether or not their state allows it. There are many pros and cons to each situation, and if one is faced with a terminal illness, they have the choice to do as they please at the end of their life, just as like you and I would.